Welcome to another reaction stream. We're looking ahead to Game Week 9 and reacting to Game Week 8. I know we have 2 games tomorrow, but yeah, I mean, what just happened today? I mean, it's just the complete crazy games. I mean, the one we just had as well. I'm not actually too surprised by the result. I think Leicester are genuinely one of the worst sides in Premier League history. Man City, I think they just kind of controlled the game. They could have maybe gone for 4 or 5, but they didn't need to. But yeah, another great day of football, but what was that just now? Literally, like Leicester were right in the game in the first half, and second half they just completely capitulated. And it's not the first time they've done it against Tottenham. Welcome to everyone. I'm going to go through your questions and also go for a wildcard draft. And I'm going to try to get out a best wildcard team video for tomorrow. I already recorded it and it's all done, but I need to edit it and have everything ready for tomorrow if possible. If not, it'll be the Monday, but it's all ready. So welcome to everyone. And maybe today we could reach 15,000. I know it's a bit of an ask, but if there's a lot of people here today, you never know. So welcome Akraf, welcome Singh, welcome Mohammed, 61 points with 2 players left. That looks pretty good, to be honest. It's a good score for this week. I was around 120k before Son coming off the bench now with the hat-trick, yeah. And now 5k, fair play. And sometimes these kind of differentials and just backing your own decisions. That's why I always say to people, look, I'm just offering my opinions and stuff. I thought that Son wouldn't start the game and therefore his ceiling is limited, but it is Leicester. So fair play to those of you that still went for the risk and it paid off. Fantastic week for wildcarders, planning to hold mine until Game Week 12, but difficult not to knee-jerk after this week. To be honest, I still prefer wildcarding in Game Week 9 compared to Game Week 8 because, yes, it might be a very similar team in general, but I didn't have that much confidence in players like Maddison scoring, which he did, to be fair, and that's really good. But, I still back the decision to not play it this week. I know my biggest gripe was playing a -4 and getting the likes of Pope and Perisic, and that's why I always tell people, if you can help it, don't take a hit for a goalkeeper. I thought it was worth it this week, especially for those of you that don't have a wild card. I think in the long term, the hit will pay off, especially for Pope. But for a 1-week punt, it's always risky, and you need the goalkeeper to deliver a clean sheet. And Bournemouth, it's not the most surprising thing in the world for them to score, to be honest. Welcome, Ralph. 46 plus bonus points to be added. Yeah, you should be in the 50s then, depending on which players you have. Hello, Dylan. Hope you're good, mate. Yeah, I am. What about you? Thank you for tuning in. Nice one, Ali Mac. Can't see Rogers surviving the international break. I mean, that's what we all kind of talked about. If there's a thrashing in the Spurs game, there's a good chance he's sacked. But are Leicester willing to pay off the 10 million that they owe him if they do sack him? I mean, they just have to, I think, at this point. They need to have a change because right now Leicester are one of the worst teams in Premier League history. They're probably right up there with Derby at the moment, so they need to change things about. I don't care that I didn't have Son, just happy he's back in form. I completely disagree. I'm not happy that he's in form, but, I said this all along. He's going to get the goals at some point. I just didn't expect it to be in the context of him coming off the bench and scoring a hat-trick, which is ridiculous. Every player I wanted to bring in, but did not have the budget for is scored. Well, there you go. Either way, I wouldn't pay too much attention to kind of team value and stuff. I know a lot of people are talking about playing the wildcard very early on if you're looking to do it in Game Week 9. And to be fair, I have activated the chip already, by the way. And that was the plan. As soon as the Game Week 8 deadline passed, I activated my wildcard. And I'm quite happy with it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is, though, I don't think Leicester have ambition. And that was shown in the transfer window. So, yeah, I don't think they have ambition, even if they do sack him. Yeah, Singh, don't worry about it too much. I still thought this kind of week had a low ceiling, and technically that is still correct. But obviously those with De Bruyne, Son, Kane, etc., obviously, it all paid off. I still think in the long term I'd rather have De Bruyne over Son, but obviously it's good to have him as an option once again. 61 points, yeah, some really good scores in the chat. 35 points according to Live FPL, the time Son took to score his hat-trick, dropped my rank by 200k. But there you go. I mean, if we all, kind of thought about it, if we all knew that Son was going to be benched for sure, how many people would have gone for him? So I wouldn't beat yourself up about it. I don't think, he didn't show anything all season. We all knew that at some point he can deliver. But, Leicester are awful. Of course, we all know that. But for him to come off the bench and score a hat-trick, I mean, it's very rare. It's very rare. Yeah, Perisic on the bench. That was funny. I saw he's on 3 points. I'm like, okay, at least he got something. I mean, I only lost 1 point from the hit, technically, you could say. But then, I realized, wait, he's got 2 points now. How do you get a yellow when he's on the bench? He got subbed off around the 55th minute. Yeah, thank you, Singh. It's better, I think, but, maybe in an hour or so it will kind of, it will go away. But yeah, it should all be good. Yeah, Perisic got a yellow. He did. He's got 2 points, so I think it's reflected on screen. Yes, it is. So he was on for 3 points, obviously conceded 2 goals, came off early, and he got a yellow card when he was on the bench, which is just, oh, Jesus Christ. Salah over both. I think long-term potentially, but for the time being, no. I think De Bruyne would still be my favourite, but obviously with Son scoring a hat-trick, everyone wants to go for him now. But remember, he does play Arsenal, and whilst I think he can get a return, of course, in the derby, but, you know, the ceiling might not be as high as De Bruyne against United. 33 points. Yeah, I mean, look, once again, I wouldn't beat yourself about it too much, you know. It's kind of like a weird week this time out. Can you share a little on Stones versus Akanji versus Ake as an option going forward? Well, Stones, I think, has a bit more credit in the bank compared to the other two, and he can also play as a right-back, and that also allows City to shift Cancelo to the left-back position, even with the absence of Walker. So I think Stones would be my favourite, but he is 5.4 million, and honestly, I'd rather have Diaz and Cancelo from the City defence. I got Perisic and Kulusevski. Fair play. I mean, Kulusevski was, I think, a good pick. I'm surprised he didn't get that many attacking returns, considering Spurs scored 6, but there you go. Perisic is a wild card on his own. Yes, he is. He could be like an upgraded version of Luka Dean, and look at him scoring 7 points. That's why this week was just kind of weird. Yellow on the bench is frustrating, but a hit for 1 week is always a risk. Of course, I knew that. I just decided to take the punt because I thought Spurs could score at least 3 goals against Leicester. You know, that was my prediction. I didn't expect them to score 6, of course. I underestimate how poor Leicester are. And also, Son coming off the bench and doing that, I mean, that's what he can do. Would playing 4 premiums be stupid? The thing is, I mean, I still think that's too imbalanced. You know, having 2 or 3 premiums even can be imbalanced, especially 3. 2 is fine. But yeah, 4 I think is overkill. Thank you, Singh. Yeah, like and subscribe if you got more than 30 points. I'm pretty sure everyone did get more than 30 points. You know, there's the kind of odd ones that didn't. Reckon Emerson will start against Everton? I don't think so. The thing is, like, it's hard to tell right now. You know, we've got the international break. Let's see what happens there as well. But he was awful against Sporting Lisbon, and he was being absolutely targeted on that right side. The second goal, you know, he was one of the main ones to blame there. So really the way I look at it, you know, you've got Jed Spence, Doherty should be fully fit and available there, and you can play Perisic on the right. So yeah, I don't think Emerson starts, to be fair, and he shouldn't. Bonus points, well, I mean, we all know who got 3 bonus points. Son got 3, Kane got 2, and then whoever, you know, got 1, probably Bentancur. But yeah, you know, the bonus points will probably be added within the next hour. Don't worry about it. You've also got like 2 weeks before the Game Week 9 deadline, so you'll have plenty of time to look at your points. I'm jealous of Son owners. I'll be honest, I'm not really. Obviously, for this week, you'd love to have him. It's great to see a differential, someone that most people doubt. He's on the bench and he comes on to score. You know, that's a great feeling when you have him. But I'm not that jealous, to be honest. I still think De Bruyne is the better long-term pick. But of course, if you are, you know, wildcard in Game Week 9 like I have, then obviously Son was obviously the better option this week. But you know, it is what it is. You know, freaky results can happen. Technically, I've got 28 points after my -4. Yeah, I've seen some low scores and also some really good ones, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's one game week. We're into what? We're going into Game Week 9 now. You know, there's still a long way to go, and we've got some games tomorrow, you know, especially if you have some Arsenal players. I don't think the ceiling is that high, but still, it could be a high-scoring game. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, though, Perisic 3 or 2 points, it doesn't really matter. The big problem was him conceding 2 goals, really. Yeah, Bentancur got 2. Yeah, and Kane 1. But to be fair, Bentancur was probably the best player overall, but Son scored the hat-trick. Of course, he made the big difference. He meant the other Emerson. Fair enough. The thing is with Emerson Palmieri, I talked about this before. I'm not going to change my mind. I don't think he's nailed in, week week out. I'm pissed with the Kane assist, cost him a heavy rank drop. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but, you know, with these players, these things can happen. You can't cover everyone. I know some people have the freemium draft of Kane, KDB and Haaland, but long-term, the squad is quite imbalanced. The wildcard team will be shown tomorrow. What I'm going to show you probably today is just another wildcard draft that I discuss in that video, but I'll show it tomorrow. Welcome, Jeff. Should I bring in Son for KDB on a wildcard to build team value? Look, to build team value, fair enough, but just bear in mind, you need a player to go up by 0.2 million before you actually make 0.1 million in terms of selling price. So bear that in mind. And KDB is also another one who a lot of people are bringing in as well. And also another thing to consider is that we've got 2 weeks until the next deadline. So the transfer activity is going to slow down because most non-wildcarders, you know, what's the point of making early transfers when we have a lot of international games? So I don't think the gains you'll make will be that big. The good thing about wildcarding right now, if you did it yesterday, is that you prevented having price drops for the likes of Trent and losing team value that way. But otherwise, you don't really gain too much, if you get my drift. 22 goals conceded for less than 7 games. That's what I mean. Like, for me, they're one of the worst teams up until this point of all time, really, you know, in the Premier League. It's absolutely awful what they're doing. And when you look at them on paper, you've got Maddison, one of the best English midfielders. You've got, obviously, Vardy, who's a legend of the Premier League. You've got some good players in there, but it just hasn't gelled. they've had an awful transfer window. They've gotten rid of, or they've had to sell some players like Schmeichel, Fofana. They've weakened, and they haven't really replaced them. Yeah, I mean, they've won this week, but the thing is with Haaland, I still think he's by far the best captaincy option for most weeks, but it's good to sometimes go different and make gains that way. But that's the thing with City. Maybe it was a bad thing that Wolves went down to 10 because they kind of took their foot off the gas. A player I'm looking at for Wolves and Fulham at home is Pablo Fornals. That looks pretty good, to be fair, and I actually mentioned him in pre-season. I think he's a good option around his price and below, but he's not someone I have a lot of confidence in the long term. International break is a snooze fest. I mean, I do agree with you to a certain extent. I actually tend to enjoy them because I watch every single game for my nation and I actually enjoy it. You know, I enjoy the football, seeing players, you know, some of the best players ever and stuff like that. And also, normally with the World Cup qualifiers, they're quite competitive compared to Europe. So I do like the international breaks, actually. I tend to anyway. And it also helps that my nation's better than my club. But yeah, it's all down to personal opinion. If I was, you know, kind of supporting England and all of this, then I would be in the complete same boat as you. I went to pick Mitrovic over Isak in the last minute. Look, this is what I mean. Like, I get why you're beating yourself up, but don't. You know, Mitrovic is still the better pick. I guarantee you that. Obviously, Isak is a good player, but he scored a penalty. What else did he do throughout the whole game? How many times will Fulham score 3 goals and Mitrovic won't score? It's not that often. I think it's only happened once this year against Birmingham, so don't beat yourself about it. You know, Mitrovic is a good pick. It didn't work out this week. There you go. You know, just move on. I don't think it's a big deal. Any chance of a Tony hat-trick tomorrow? I hope not. There is a chance, don't get me wrong. I could see him scoring a goal or two, but, you know, don't rule it out, definitely. I think Brentford will be right up for it against Arsenal. Pep saw the amount of managers captaining Haaland and told them to ease off the pedal. Yeah, Pep is an absolute troll, but look, fair play to him. He hasn't really trolled us too much in terms of Pep roulette if he had Cancelo, Haaland and KDB so far this season, so well done. But as soon as I say that, he's going to bench someone against United, someone big, and then we're all going to be cussing again. Yeah, Leicester to beat Derby County's record. If they keep on going, then yeah, they might not even get to 13 points. They might even struggle to get to 10 at this point. I mean, Akraf, he has to be sacked for me. Like, I don't like calling for managers' heads, and you have to blame the players. It's not just the manager, but how many years now have Leicester been the worst team in terms of set pieces they're defending? They rarely score goals from set pieces as well. You know, they haven't fixed these big issues that have been there for so many years. And then on top of that, you know, the transfer window, you have to blame the owners for that. Obviously, I know they have some financial trouble and all of that jazz, but it's not just the manager. But, you know, we all know in football, if you're having bad results and you just can't get a reaction, the manager's the first one to go. My nationality is Argentina, obviously. I've got double nationality technically, Britain and Argentina, but yeah, Argentina is my football nation. It's where my family's from. Took Kulusevski instead of Son for a 1-week punt. Look, honestly, I don't think that was the wrong decision. I would have gone for Kulusevski as well. I talked about this in the stream. Son was benched. And once again, how many times is a player going to come off the bench and score a hat-trick? I think the last time I can remember that is Rashford against Leipzig. It doesn't happen that often. I'm getting Son on my wildcard next week. I can see the return of the king. What king? I mean, what is he the one? That's my answer on that. Thoughts on Isak performance today? I'll be honest, I didn't see the game. I was out actually. I know he scored the penalty. I'm not sure what else he did throughout the game. Obviously, you lot will probably be in a better position to answer that, but I will be looking at the highlights and also probably extended highlights to get a better feel of what Isak did. But honestly, I think Tony's the better pick anyway, and I also think Mitrovic is a better option despite blanking. Look, I will be open-minded about Son. You know, we now have seen him do something, finally. And I think maybe the benching, in a way, is good management by Conte. You know, how often is Son benched for Spurs? I think this is like the first time ever. And that was probably, you know, something mentally kind of switched in Son. You know, he has to, you know, produce a big performance to get his place back. So it was good management, I'd say. Yeah, I agree, Matthew. I still think Kevin De Bruyne is a better option than Son. You know, he scored a hat-trick, but it's against the worst team in the league. And, you know, Leicester, they got a draw against Brentford in Game Week 1. They probably should have conceded 6 or 7, at least against Arsenal. They were absolutely dominated that game. And even in the games afterwards, you know, they're losing and conceding so many goals to so, you know, poor sides we're talking about. So I would be a bit cautious of that. I mean, you say Son can't wait for Arsenal, but I mean, I think Kane is the one who is better in terms of the record against the Gunners. And also, Arsenal are a decent team right now. I think that Spurs have a good chance of getting something, but they typically lose at the Emirates, so I wouldn't count on it. The Kane squad finally won once. I mean, they can get their victory, but Haaland's won the other 7 game weeks or something, so, you know, he has to win one time, you know. Sell Foden to Maddison. I prefer Maddison, honestly. I think Maddison's a great option. The problem with him, apart from injuries, is Leicester are garbage. That's pretty much it. I probably am Connor. We'll talk more about this in the videos and stuff. But yeah, once again, just a kind of disclaimer, I probably will be showing my final team after the deadline just to prevent copying, because even, you know, when I was talking about what I'm going to do in the stream, you know, people do copy, which is a shame. The only reason I went for KDB over Son was the benching. But that's not a bad decision. Kevin De Bruyne got 2 assists today. And, you know, Leicester capitulated. They absolutely gave up and they were allowing some easy goals for Son. So you also have to think about it that way. It's not going to happen too often. When is City playing Leicester? Oh, I'd probably be tempted to triple captain Haaland for that. You know, if City don't take their foot off the gas, Haaland stays on the pitch, he could get 4 goals at least. How's Perisic only on 2 points with an assist? He got a yellow card when he was on the bench, that's why. And he conceded 2 goals, and he didn't play 60 minutes. He came off around 55, so, you know, he basically gets, you know, 3 points for the assist, loses a point, you know, all that jazz. You get it. So he gets 2 points. Keeping Isak for 2 weeks, then moving back to Jesus, that's fair enough. But I'm not sure about it because, you know, you're getting Jesus for Game Week 11 against Leeds, but then he blanks in Game Week 12. I'd rather go for Tony right now, actually. I feel like Ward is getting dropped. Well, if they have a new manager, yes, potentially. And Iverson probably deserves to start, to be honest. I'm happy I took a -4 to bring in KDB, Isak, and Cher. That looks really good. Obviously, Cher's a bit disappointing, but the other 2 made up for it. I think Isak got full bonus points, so fair play, mate. And I think Kevin De Bruyne deserved more bonus points, but there you go. Was thinking of getting Dyer, but knew Leicester would score. But again, you wouldn't have expected him to score. Well, exactly. You know, how many times is Dyer going to score this season? Not that many. And yeah, I knew the risk as well. Perisic, I actually predicted, I think, 3-1 to Spurs or something like that. And, you know, I wanted Perisic for the attacking threat, and he got an assist, but there you go. Leicester's crazily bad, pure garbage. I think that's being nice to them. They're even worse than that, but let's keep this PG. Ward is so unconvincing. Exactly. I just don't think he makes himself big enough. He's not a good goalkeeper, let's be frank. Thoughts on Elise Game Week 10 onwards? It's a no for me. And look, always back your gut. You know, even going into this week, I said I just don't feel Son right now. I wouldn't go for him. So do your decisions, because I do get stuff wrong. You know, I don't get everything right. But in terms of Palace assets, I would look at a defender maybe, or goalkeeper. So Gaeta, Anderson, Gay. And the main one is Zaha. I wouldn't go for anyone else. I don't think it's worth it. Kane and Foden or KDB and Tony? KDB and Tony still for me. It must be a 20-0 win for City. But the thing is, will Brendan Rodgers be in charge by then? That's the thing. If he isn't, and they get a good manager in, and they actually respond, the players are putting in an effort, and they're responding tactically, then they could give City a good game, actually. But, yeah, I mean, City will probably destroy them. On 51 with Bowen, Soufal, Martinelli left. It is good, mate. It's a good score, especially if you haven't wildcarded this week. I think it's a decent score. On 54 without some bonus points captain. Well, enjoy that, mate. What are you going to be on then? 60, so yeah, fair play. Less than 2 centre-backs and a new keeper in January, they're going down. Yeah, and there's a new manager as well. I hate to say it, I rarely go against the manager, but I think it would change things. There might be something wrong behind the scenes, we just don't know. Yeah, exactly. Terrible business. They only signed, what, 1 or 2 players? They got rid of some key assets that they've had for so many years. Fofana's the 5th defender. I talk about this in the Wildcard team video that's going to be released tomorrow. I think it's a good option, but you could also go for Soufal, or just kind of go for a really cheap option like Emerson Palmieri, or, you know, Nico Williams, Patterson, etc. So I don't actually mind Fofana too much, but I don't trust Chelsea enough to go double up in Chelsea defence. I would rather just go for James for the extra 1.6 million. Maddison's fuming on Sky. I didn't see that. So saying encouraging things through under a new manager to possibly like him for the next few games. Yeah, I'll check that out afterwards. Maddison's a quality player. I think he deserves much better. Tielemans as well. I do wish Arsenal kind of went for him, to be fair. But yeah, you know, let's have some quality players, and they shouldn't be going down. They shouldn't be anywhere near this. They should be in a position to challenge for a European spot. Thoughts on getting Sancho or Rashford post the Derby game? I would rather go for Rashford, but Sancho is more nailed. I think Rashford is actually a bigger rotation risk, especially if Martial's back from injury and you've got Ronaldo in the mix as well, you know, with the full fitness too. Martinelli hat-trick, and I'm looking at 100. Very unlikely for that to happen. Obviously, I hope it does. You know, I'd love it, but to be realistic, you know, how many hat-tricks has Martinelli scored in his career? I don't think he has, actually. Yeah, I will show a wildcard draft, but it's only one of the 3 that I show in tomorrow's video, or whenever I do release it, I'll try to let you know. But yeah, I'll show it very soon. 72 out bonus points. I mean, that's an incredible score. We've got some good scores in here. 53, Son saved my game. We can still have Jesus, Tony, Martinelli, De Silva. I wouldn't expect much from De Silva, although you never know of Arsenal. The other 3 look really good, actually. I think Zaha better long-term than Maddison. I still think that, you know. I love Maddison as a player, especially in FPL, but I think Zaha with the fixtures, Palace are a better team as well, and Zaha's on penalties. That's why I would favour him. He's also cheaper, but why not go for both if you can? That's what I'm planning to do as well. Why did Perisic get a yellow? I didn't watch the game, but I'm pretty sure it's because he was arguing or something like that. So basically, he was already subbed off. Obviously, someone can correct me if I am wrong. Also, a bit relief, Kane only got a goal and assist. Well, exactly. You know, if Spurs score 6 goals, Kane loves playing against Leicester, you would have expected a hat-trick from Kane or maybe 4 goal contributions or something like that. So I completely agree, Lucas. I have Sanchez and Ward. Who should I replace one of them? Well, ideally, I'd say Ward, but the thing is, you don't need 2 expensive goalkeepers. So I'd actually rather get rid of Sanchez and just have Ward on your bench, and you just hope he never has to come on for you. So he's a last resort, really. 45 has still got the Arsenal free to play. I hope, you know, they do a good job for you, but I think Brentford's a tough game. Perisic got yellow due to running on the pitch to celebrate the goal. Wow, something stupid like that? Wow. Oh, Jesus Christ. 6.1 million midfielder option. Like I said yesterday and in recent streams, I just don't really like most of the options around that price. You could consider Gordon or someone like that, but I just can't bring myself to recommend these assets. It's really just Andreas and Bailey for me. Hold KDB or bring back Salah? I'd actually hold KDB for now and bring Salah back in Game Week 12. I wouldn't, you know, knee-jerk, and either way, you know, let's not forget KDB was amazing today. Son to KDB worth it? I think KDB's the better option, but I wouldn't go from one to the other either way. So if you have Son, keep him. If you have KDB, I'd keep him. I wouldn't move from one to the other. Maddison or Bowen? Maddison for me. But I said this, you know, yesterday. I'm not knee-jerking after today. I think Maddison's, you know, the better option, but they're both good. And to be honest, West Ham are the better team, but they do struggle to score goals. Despite Leicester being so poor, they can still score a few goals. It's just they're absolutely awful at the back. Trippier planning to take pens. Just saw highlights in discussion between Isak and him. It's a possibility, to be fair. That's a good shout from you there, Singh. You could be absolutely right there. I think Isak would still be first choice, and let's not even forget the likes of Callum Wilson when he's back. So I don't think Trippier would be first, but maybe he's like third in the pecking order, and that's really encouraging. You know, not to mention the set pieces already on. He's a great free kick taker. Will tomorrow be Mbeumo and Tony show? Maybe. Honestly, I hope not. I hope that they blank, but realistically, I think Tony will get something. Shout out to players that got Maddison on a wild card. Yeah, exactly, John. Fair play. One of the reasons I didn't want a wild card is because I want more information, you know, during the international break. And whilst I could still benefit from that, I also didn't expect the likes of Maddison to return. I was actually probably thinking of going for Andreas and Bailey over Maddison this week because of the fixture. But that's why, you know what, sometimes just play, you know, don't even just think about the fixture too much. And that's why I have done a lot this season, surprisingly. Just play the best players. And Maddison is one of the best FPL assets, despite how poor Leicester are. Mitrovic was amazing until I brought him in my team. Yeah, I know someone actually, a dear friend of mine, who he just can't stop jinxing players, you know. He had Odegaard for the first few games of the season, did nothing for him. As soon as he gets rid of him, he scores 2 goals in 10 minutes against Bournemouth. And I think he's only got 1 career brace or 2. So it just goes to show. Sometimes it's a bit of bad luck. Mitrovic can't score every single game. The returns will come. How in the world has Maddison never been selected by England squad? I mean, look, Southgate, he has his own kind of favourites. He's got his own system. He's got a group there. And you can't underestimate that. The group is really important. It's more important than a single individual. But if you look at performance for the club, you know, Maguire being selected over Tomori, Ben White, that's just a disgrace, to be honest. Then you look at the likes of Maddison, who, you know, probably one of the best England midfielders, especially from an offensive point of view. You know, Mount has been awful this season. Maddison, for me, is the better player right now. But there you go. You know, he's never going to drop the likes of Mount. And to be honest, I wouldn't even drop him. I'd drop someone else from the England squad for Maddison. But there you go. You also have to think about the balance. You can't have too many attacker midfielders or players in a specific position. But for me, that's no excuse. Maddison should be selected, in my opinion. Keep Martinelli versus Spurs. I think he's still the best option at his price and below. That's the way I see it. I don't like the Game Week 12 blank. I don't like the fixtures before that. But he's also the best around his price and below. That's the way I see it. Mount 2, John says, Harry. I know he loves Bowen. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that is true. I agree with you too. Yeah. Gundogan has been crap for me since I brought him in. I mean, that's the thing though. Gundogan was starting the first few games, but that's Pep roulette for you. Players like Kevin De Bruyne, Cancelo and Haaland, you kind of know they're going to start most games. Gundogan is a bit hard done by, I think. Let us know which player your friend gets rid of. I'll try and let you know. Sometimes he's in the stream actually, so maybe he can tell you himself. But yeah, Southgate needs sacking for real. The thing is, look, credit to him. He knows how to get results, but he's also been very lucky. And I'm not hating on England, you have to beat what's in front of you. But the 2018 World Cup run was very kind, let's put it that way. And the first kind of half-decent team they came up against, they lost. Also, the Euros, bit fortunate against Denmark, in my opinion. And then against Italy, you know, you're at home. I know there's pressure, the home pressure, but you're leading in just within minutes. Luke Shaw puts you ahead. I think England should have won at least one of those tournaments, especially the Euros last year. Do you think Trent will make the World Cup squad? Honestly, based on what we've seen in the last few years, I'd say no. And, you know, his form this season doesn't really help. So I think it's making things easier for Southgate. I don't think that's really the worst decision ever. You know, Trent is suspect defensively, but I'd probably call him up as a midfielder. I know it's kind of weird to say that because he's never played there officially, but yeah. How confident are you on the Arsenal game this week? I mean, Arsenal for me are the better team than Brentford, but football's not played on paper. And Brentford for me will score a goal or two at least. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and it could go either way. It could be a draw, could be a narrow win for either side, but you know, Arsenal should win, but let's wait and see. Pope or Gates on the wild card? I'd still go for Pope, and I'd rather go for Anderson from Crystal Palace. Andreas or Bailey in Game Week 9? In Game Week 9, let me double-check the fixture. So, yeah, let's go for the fixtures. And actually, you will see here one of my wildcard squads, actually, before we go into that. So, this is not my favourite, just a disclaimer. The favourite will be revealed in the team tomorrow, the wildcard team, whenever it was released, but probably tomorrow. I'll try to edit it after this video is done, this stream is done. But something like this, I would make a few changes. You kind of know that already. I would go for some medium-price midfielders like Zaha and Maddison. I wouldn't go for Sterling, I think. And I also would go for a few other different defenders instead of Perisic, for example. But the front three, I think, is kind of locked in. I wouldn't go for anyone else, even Isak, but he is a good option as well. Let me know what you think, but this is only one of three. I only briefly discussed the second and third ones. The main focus is on the main one, which for me is the best wildcard team, and what I probably will have in my Game Week 9 team by the deadline. But of course, things change. We'll have the international break, and we'll have more news, more injuries, and more stuff like that. So to answer the question that was asked just now, the fixtures. So yeah, Andres is up against Newcastle, and Bailey is facing Leeds. I actually prefer Bailey. I think Newcastle, they've only won one game this season, but they have been decent defensively all year. And they're one of the best teams overall in 2022. So I probably would go for Leon Bailey. I think that Leeds fixture is good from an offensive point of view. So let's go back to, you know, we'll keep this wildcard team on since a lot of people were, you know, wondering about it. I think at this point, you know, I know there's a lot of knee-jerking around right now. A lot of people will say, oh, what about Son? Where is he? And by the way, as you can see there, I actually can't afford this team. It would cost 101.7 million, I think. So it just depends on your team value and stuff like that. But some of you will be able to afford it. And you can always make compromises, as I always say. But let's say, for example, you want to get De Bruyne and Son. Well, you'd have to make a big compromise. For example, going for another 4 million defender. But yeah, let's not overcomplicate it. I'm going to keep what I had here. So Perisic, and we'll go for Sterling. So this is the wildcard draft I had. Yeah, you could just go for Son instead of De Bruyne, but I wouldn't do that. I still wouldn't do it after his hat-trick today. All right, so we'll keep that on screen. Saint-Maximin, if fit on the wildcard. Around his price and below, he's one of the better options, but I wouldn't go for him, honestly. I prefer the Newcastle defenders, despite conceding today. The only attack I really like is Wilson or Isak. You know, apart from that, not really. Anderson over Perisic, I'm guessing. Yep, that's a really good guess, mate. A really good guess. You'll see tomorrow, but yeah. Mitrovic for Gabriel for Game Week 9. Yes, I think it's a good time to get rid of Jesus. I think the ceiling is a bit lower in the next few game weeks, and he's also got the blank in 12. Too much investment in Man City. With the Game Week 12 blank in mind, you could be right, but I think City are the best team in the league by leagues. You know, I think they're going to win the league by probably 15, 20 points at this rate, especially with no Liverpool challenging them. So I still think it's worth having a triple up. You could go for a double up. That's completely fine. It's your team. It's up to you. But I would go for a double or triple up still. And, you know, you wouldn't sacrifice Haaland, of course. Cancelo's the best defender in the game. It's just really De Bruyne. So you could go for Son. It's completely up to you, but I still think a triple up is worth it. Personally, though, I think you need funds in the bank to upgrade KDB to Salah at any given point. That is a good point. I actually had a draft, I think in the deadline stream the other day, where I had 0.9 million. So I had basically enough to do De Bruyne to Salah, and I could still do that in the end. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though, Singh. This is a wildcard draft I had prepared before the Son, you know, masterclass today. I think it's very easy to get caught up in this. You know, Son scored a hat-trick. He's a great player. But this is his first good performance of the season, and he played against Leicester. You know, where are Leicester? They're 20th, and they've conceded 21 goals in 7 games or something like that. Let's take it easy. You know, let's take it easy. Do you think Son found his spark? I mean, today he definitely did, but once again, I would be very, very, not cautious. I know Son will do well this season, but there are other options. You've got Sterling. I would prefer Son over Sterling, to be fair, long term, if Son can get his mojo back for good. But De Bruyne, he's been fantastic all year. He's been much more consistent than Son, and he's playing in a much better team. You've got Haaland. You've got Harry Kane as well, who's been much better than Son all season. So I'd still be a bit careful. That's my wildcard team, but I used it last week and I have Isak. That's completely fine. I actually like this draft, and I do like the kind of Sterling-De Bruyne combination, but I will go for something different tomorrow in the main squad I'll talk about. Fair play, Kimpachi, really good. Obviously, anyone who captained Son, it's a good decision in the end. The fact that he got benched and still delivered, it's a testament to how good he is. And obviously, I don't want to keep talking about Leicester, but it has to be said, they're an absolutely awful team. If Rodgers stays in the job, target Leicester has to be a thing every week, to be honest. Couldn't believe the only team I triple up this season is Brentford. That's a really weird triple up. I think maybe the 4-0 against United maybe, played a big part in that. Most points 102, man triple captain Son. Yeah, exactly. But bear in mind, some of these people, the people that win the manager of the month or manager of the week, whatever, they are only making a second account or something like that to win the manager of the week. And that's it. It's not their main team. So bear that in mind. Why not go for Haaland, Son, and Kane and Mitrovic in your team? I have a draft that I talk about tomorrow where you have all three, but I prefer Tony structurally. I talked about this before. I'd rather have a De Bruyne or Son maybe now, and then you can move to Salah because, Salah's not going to be awful all season in my opinion. I think, just like Son today, he can produce a level of performance like that. So I think it's just better structurally to have a midfielder like De Bruyne. Let's not forget, De Bruyne got 10 points today, and he probably should have got more. Yeah, Harry, I agree. Don't get me wrong, Son is one of the best players in the Premier League and he's a great FPL option, but it's his first good game, so I completely agree with you. And Arsenal are no mugs. I know Son can score a goal or two at least against them, but yeah, Arsenal aren't as bad as Leicester. When I watch Spurs score 6 in a few weeks' time. Sell Kane, it's kind of a weird time to get rid of him, so I don't know if you have a wild card or not, but he's facing Arsenal, one of his favourite opponents, and despite the ceiling maybe being lower, I wouldn't sell Kane, I think. Yeah, I still have my wildcard. I activated, actually. I used it for this week. It's done. It was my plan after the Game Week 8 deadline. I was actually considering using it in Game Week 8, but I'm still happy to have not done so. Even though I would have gone for Maddison, but I think I might have benched him, actually, so I don't really care, to be honest. 400 points for me, but took a -8 this season. That's fair enough. I think I've taken a -8 as well. And it's really recently that I've taken hits. So I've actually been very patient so far. The hit for Perisic ultimately was unnecessary, and also Mr. Pope. Do we see Perisic as a long-term option? Yes, but like I said, this is not my main draft, and he doesn't feature in the main one. So I would maybe go for cheaper defenders like Fofana, Soufal, Emerson Palmieri, these 4 million defenders, and spend more money in the midfield, to be honest. If you had, yeah, I don't know what that spamming comment is. I'm not even going to read it. 65 points wildcard, Martinelli to play. Is that a good result for using the chip? Yes. The wildcard is a long-term ploy. You're using it up until the wildcard, until the World Cup. So that's a great score for this week, and you're in a good position. You can get to 70 points this week potentially, and you're well set up for the weeks to come. That's completely fine, mate. I captain Trippier over Haaland. At least he got an assist for you, and to be honest, it's only a point difference, so it doesn't really matter, to be fair. Keeping KDB for Southampton at home, Dennis and move to Salah soon. That's what I'm planning to do as well, but I think he will be on my wildcard. Why no Brighton players? The fixtures aren't that great. If we take a look actually at the fixture ticker. So Brighton are second bottom over the next 6 game weeks. They face Liverpool, Tottenham. Brentford's all right. It's not a bad game. But then Nottingham Forest, that's pretty good. But then City and Chelsea. That's really the reason why I don't have any Brighton players. And also, don't forget, no Graham Potter. No Graham Potter. What is the impact going to be on Brighton? I think they will struggle a little bit and they will start tumbling down the table. That's my personal opinion. I hope they do all right, but, we've got to be realistic and look at those fixtures. So that's the answer to your question. Let me know if you disagree. Of course, I encourage discussion, but yeah, I just don't really see the need to go for Brighton players on the wildcard. 50 -4, I'll take that. Yeah, that's not too shabby, Amir. That's not too shabby. Which teams, in your opinion, will make the top 4? I said this yesterday. For me, it will be Man City champions, Spurs second. I think Liverpool will sort things out and maybe finish 3rd, and Arsenal 4th. That's my prediction. Obviously, Chelsea have a chance and United as well, but I think Chelsea 5th, United 6th, and that's my prediction after 7 games in, pretty much. So take it with a pinch of salt. I could be wrong, but I'm very confident about City and Spurs finishing in the top 4, and City being champions, of course. Yeah, exactly, Harry, and it's good to see Trippier. You know, he could even be in discussion for penalties as well, as Singh rightly pointed out. No target brace, yeah. I mean, this is the thing, though. I'm a bit surprised, you could say, about Newcastle conceding. I mean, then again, it's not the worst or the most improbable thing that happened, but a target brace is a bit overkill. 57 points without bonus for Isak, Cancelo and Kane to also have Martinelli and Bowen left. Really good score, Eric. You know, some great scores going around. I think 57's good. Dawson, Diaz, Nunez and Trent for the wildcard draft. No. If we look at the fixture ticker here, I know Liverpool aren't too shabby, actually, are they? I can't even see them. Oh, yeah, they're in the top kind of 6, 7 here, and they don't blank in Game Week 12. But would I go for Nunez? No, honestly, I wouldn't. I think he'll be sharing minutes with Firmino. I'd rather go for Kane. And obviously, you know, the main ones that I prefer are Haaland, Mitrovic, and Tony. So, not for me. Trent is still a good pick on the wildcard, but maybe more so from Game Week 12 onwards is when you want him. And Diaz, I think they're a better midfielder, so I disagree there. Hot to set up in Champions League, giving any ideas on team predictions? I think it's quite telling that he started Cucurella in his first game back. You know, he already knows him, of course. So that's quite telling. And also playing a back four, Reece James being very offensive, Cucurella kind of tucking a little bit more. And also Mason Mount, he looked much better than he did all season. So I think there are a few things to kind of take from that. But yeah, I think we still need a lot to learn from a Potter team with Chelsea. Evening, El Padrino. Went risky this week and captain Kane over Haaland. Yeah, fair play, mate. That's fair play. And I even said it yesterday. I probably would have captained Kane over Haaland if I had him. You know, the Leicester fixture is just too tempting. Trent is a weird one. No matter whether I wildcard or not, I leave myself nowhere to get him back in easily. That's the big problem. And that's why some people are going for James, Cancelo, and Perisic or something like that. And then they might have 1 or 2 million in the bank to make that switch. But then you have to think about Salah as well. If you want him back as well, it's going to be very difficult to get both of them back in. So it's something to think about. I'm fuming. I was literally seconds away from picking Son earlier this week. Yeah, but I wouldn't really kick yourself too much over that decision. You know, he was awful all season. There was a good chance of him being benched, which happened. I wouldn't beat yourself about it. So yeah, Perisic is a new Dean, potentially. I got him in UCL Fantasy as well. He did absolutely awful. But like I said, you know, I don't really mind too much because it's not like I want Spurs players to do that well anyway. So, you know, I don't really, care too much. But yeah, I actually talked about that earlier. Perisic is kind of like a more expensive version of Dean. How to deal with people making many accounts? I mean, that's up to FPL headquarters to decide. But, you know, they could easily have, I mean, I don't know, it'd be a bit weird. But stuff like, I can't even remember the name. I was going to say DNS. That's not the, I don't think that's the word. But yeah, I mean, look, there are ways for FPL to realize. Obviously, it's easy for them. Just make a new email account or whatever, and they might even have multiple anyway. Maybe some form of identification or something, but it does seem a bit excessive, you could say. Yeah, I mean, so do I, mate. Arsenia, so do I, but you've got to realize he's a great FPL option, of course, but got to be a bit, you know, like I said, people are knee-jerking a lot, I think. You know, people saying he's better than De Bruyne. I still don't see it. Would you remove Spurs players Kane and Perisic from Game Week 9 to 12? Perisic maybe, but not Kane, I think. The thing is, you also have to think about your structure. Do you want 2 premium forwards? And if so, you know, there's no one else I'd go to other than Harry Kane. And also, do you want Salah at some point? You know, you've got to ask yourself these questions. And if the answer is yes, then maybe you can get rid of Kane. But he's facing Arsenal, and I think he will score. He'll probably get a, customary penalty and stuff like that, and he will do something. Are you playing Reece James against Crystal Palace? Yes, I would be playing him, and potentially Zaha as well. It is a conflict, but they're both great assets. They can both fall in the same game as well. When are you selling KDB? Well, I'm wildcarding this week, and if anything, Game Week 12 to Salah potentially, but I am open-minded. I could go to Son. I could even change things up a little bit more and go for Son from the get-go, but I think KDB probably Game Week 12. I don't have Haaland out of Kane, Tony, and Isak. Who do you think I should take out? Isak. I'd rather keep Kane and Tony. I'm on 83 after bonus. Kane and Son, Bernardo and Foden. That's a really good score. Maddison benched and no Haaland. Oh, wow. I mean, that just shows you that you don't necessarily need Haaland, but in the long term, I would recommend having him because he's the best captaincy option in general. Yeah, Wei saying, I mean, look, he's just joined the club. He still needs to acclimatise. But for me, Aubameyang, he's not the same player. He showed it at Arsenal. He missed sitters, open goals. His all-round play wasn't that great. Yeah, IP tracking. That's exactly what I mean. I don't know why my mind blanked there. Would mean 1 account per household. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. You know, sometimes you have family who also play the game, like myself. Yeah, that is a good point. I think form of identification like Twitter, which I think they do sometimes, So maybe, proof of, maybe a driving license or a passport, something like that. It seems excessive, but that's a good way of doing it. No, I mean, I wouldn't go for Aubameyang. No chance. Welcome, Chu. Good to see you, and hope you're doing fine as well. Now that Bournemouth scored, is double Newcastle defence essential? I never said it's essential, to be honest. And I understand, and I even said, some of the fixtures coming up, they're good for Newcastle, but maybe not so much from a defensive point of view. And I still would go for them because Trippier is good from attacking threat, as he proved today. I know the assist was a bit lucky. And Pope is great for saves and bonus points. And, I mean, which other goalkeepers would you really go for? Gaeta, maybe? But, I mean, I don't think he gets anywhere near as many points as Pope this season. Then you look at Sanchez, he's got awful fixtures. You've got Dean Henderson. So, ultimately, I would go for Pope. And in terms of defenders, James, I would recommend. Cancelo, maybe a Spurs defender like Perisic, a West Ham defender like Soufal or Emerson. But you're kind of limited, and maybe you could just go for Trippier. I still think he's one of the best options on a wild card, and I would go for both of them personally. The bonus points... Oh, Jesus, I'm fucking swearing even now. The bonus points should be coming out within the next hour or so don't worry about it. It will be coming. Should I sell Ederson to Pope? Ederson will keep more clean sheets, but Pope is better value for money, and you'll get more saves and bonus points. I would do it, but not for a hit. Do not make goalkeeper transfers for a hit. I did it this week. I paid the price. Maddison, even a good captain punt. I still would go for Haaland or maybe even Kane personally. Look, I really like Maddison, but Leicester are so bad that, it puts a damper on Maddison's quality. Any news on Game Week 7 games before, after the World Cup? I'm guessing you mean Game Week 17. Or Game Week 7 games. Oh, sorry, the Game Week 7 games. No, I completely get you. I think January is a good time to put these games in. So it would be after the World Cup. There's no time before that. Literally, if you see October for clubs like Arsenal, and this is for everyone, by the way, especially those in Europe, the calendar's absolutely stacked. There's no space, so it has to be after. So in January, we're looking at maybe, or it could be even later in the season. I've already activated the wildcard. I activated it yesterday after the deadline, and that's what I said. If I didn't activate in Game Week 8, I would do it after, most likely. Yes, Dan, but it's not going to be fully accurate. It might be a few hundreds away in terms of rank and stuff like that. I was actually around 700k, but thanks to the good old duo of Kane and Son, I did take a big plummet after that. Bench Rashford or Almiron in Game Week 9? I'd actually rather bench Almiron because Rashford is up against City, who I talked about this before with Rashford. I actually like him against the bigger teams because City play a high line, of course, just like Liverpool and Arsenal. This is the chance for him to get the returns, but let's see if he's actually fit or not. Mitrovic or Martinelli for Game Week 9? Mitrovic, it has to be him. When is the last game week before the World Cup? I think it's Game Week 17, or let me double check that. It's Game Week 16 or 17. I always get them kind of mixed up for some reason, but I'll just double check this for you now quickly. Yeah, Game Week 16 is the last one, so Game Week 17 is when we return on Boxing Day. So yeah, Game Week 16 is the last one. So yeah, that answers your question. Paquette instead of Bowen, not for me. Let's see how they do tomorrow. That could also change our minds potentially, but I prefer Bowen. What game week will Leicester concede the 100th goal of the season? If they keep Rodgers all the way through, which would be fantastic to see. Probably in Game Week 27, the way they're going, probably. Haaland versus United or Kane versus Arsenal? Haaland. Yeah, I think Haaland, but they're both good options, to be fair, despite the fixture being tough on paper. Bring in Maddison or Zaha long term? I'd go for both, but if I had to pick one, it'd be Zaha. Can we sell Martinelli now? Yeah, of course you can. I just think he's the best option at his price and below. Imagine it's the Brighton team good instead of Potter. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that, to be fair, but I think Brighton will plummet. I think so. Best time to use the wildcard. I don't know your team situation, so it's hard for me to say, but for most people, I'd say Game Week 9 is a good time. You've got the international break. Things can happen, injuries and stuff like that. And you can also potentially make a bit of team value, but it's a bit overrated, when people talk about that. Will you bring in Zaha? Yes. He's in my wildcard draft. I talk about him tomorrow, of course. He's also in the thumbnail. Emerson Real out for Cucurella for Game Week 9. Not a bad shout, but Cucurella, I think, will rotate with Chilwell, especially with the Champions League and other cups. So I personally would go for Cucurella. My opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Are you doing 2 premiums or freemiums? There's one draft where I technically have a freemium, but normally I just recommend a double up, not free. Who said Mitrovic is more essential than Isak? I still think Mitrovic is a better option long term, to be honest. You know, one game week doesn't change that, to be honest. Good luck with Tony. I have a feeling Brentford are winning. Oh, I don't have him right now. This is my wildcard draft for Game Week 9, one of the 3 that feature tomorrow. I hope Tony, you get sent off, honestly, even if it impacts my Game Week 9 team. But yeah, I think he will score. Who's the most overrated player in your opinion? I mean, that's a tough question. It's difficult to say because there's always going to be someone I'm forgetting. I mean, it's a good question you're saying, but I'd have to think about it. Tony captain next game week. I mean, it's a good shout, but Bournemouth, they've done a decent job against non-top 6 opposition. You know, let's not forget that. Song consoling Maddison was funny as Maddison was so pissed. I mean, look, if any Leicester player had any pride, you know, you'd be pissed off as well because, you know, it's just an absolute embarrassment. Anthony worth keeping, no wild card. Look, let's wait and see, you know, what he does in the weeks and stuff to come. But of course, it's a shame we can't see him against Leeds. I think he would have done pretty well. I think there are better options. I would go for Zaha or Maddison personally, or even Bowen. Play Dean or Rashford. I'd actually probably play Rashford, but I need to double check that. I think Aston Villa playing Leeds. I'd probably go for Rashford. I know it sounds crazy, but that high line for City, I could see a goal for Rashford or something like that. Hold De Bruyne till Southampton or sell for Maddison next week. I'd hold De Bruyne. I love Maddison. I'd actually want to add him to your midfield and not replace De Bruyne. Mitrovic is essential from Game Week 11, but not now. This is the thing with essential. I even said it yesterday. I was asked this question, and I said, well, Mitrovic isn't essential, but he's very close to being it because of the fixtures and also what he's done and the value. I mean, I don't think he's essential even in Game Week 11 or now, but I think he's the best striker other than Haaland in terms of value and what he offers. Maddison did a great job to get in the goal. Huge fan of him. Yeah, he is. And, you know, I was going to probably get him in on my wildcard team, but I probably would have benched him, which is kind of crazy to say. And, you know, sometimes you kind of learn from these kind of decisions you would have made or the ones you kind of think through. Yeah, and in players like Maddison, just don't bench him for Andreas and Bailey in the long term. Haaland won't score against United. That's a bold call. You know, yes, United have improved recently, but they couldn't even beat Sociedad. And City are the best team in the league. And look at the chances he's getting. So let's wait and see. You could be right, but I think Haaland will score. Good feeling United is winning City. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think in my prediction, I actually contemplated a United win. It could be anything, a 2-2, a 2-1 either way, a 3-1. I think City will win, though. But they do struggle a lot at the Etihad against United. Who'd you like the best out of Zaha, Bowen, and Maddison? Probably Zaha long term and then Maddison, but, you know, I like both. If you can, get both of those in. -4 hit for Reece James and Maddison for Brighton assets. I think it's worth it, Arthur, honestly. Best midfielder for James Ward-Prowse at that price point, please. I think he's 6.5, but let me just double check that for you. Where is he? I mean, I'm probably going to give you a boring answer here. Where is Mr. Ward-Prowse? He's 6.5. I hate to say it, but you're probably looking at Martinelli. Martinelli is my favourite one. And, you know, he blanks in 12. He's got poor fixtures before that, apart from Leeds. But he's still my pick there. And if you already have him, then it's a bit weird. Maybe say Maximan if he's back from injury, but not a huge fan of him, FPL-wise. Is Tete a good choice? I don't think so. If there's any Fulham defender or defensive coverage, then yes, Tete would be it. But I don't trust Fulham defensively. You really are relying on attacking returns there. Best atmosphere in the Prem? Well, to be honest, Palace are probably the best atmosphere. Home crowd. I think they have the best home crowd. They're always loud. Also kind of a compact stadium. I think it's them. I know a lot of people point towards Liverpool, and at the beginning of the game, of course, the atmosphere is incredible. But I don't think during the game it's that great, in my opinion. You know, I've been to atmospheres in different countries where, you know, it's really intense and, you know, they're much better than English fans, you could say. But I'd say Palace, yeah, I agree. Mitrovic or Isak? Mitrovic. I'm not going to change my mind after one game. Mitrovic all day long. Will Emerson start versus Everton? I believe so, but in the long term, I am not sure about Emerson starting week in, week out. And if you're asking me, I don't think he does, honestly. Thoughts on Paqueta and Brighton midfielders? I mean, I'd love to say Paqueta could become a serious option. He's got the fixtures. He's a good player. But I need to see more from him. Maybe tomorrow we can get further insight into what he can provide attacking-wise, but I'm not really feeling it. Brighton midfielders are still decent, like Trossard and Gross, but the fixtures are awful. So honestly, it's still Martinelli, maybe Odegaard, or, you know, someone else like that. You know, if you're looking for someone around 6.5 and below. Yeah, the wildcard, I mean, there were a lot of price changes yesterday. Trent went down in price. I think Salah's close to going down today. The likes of De Bruyne, I think, went up today, and stuff like that. But yeah, There's a few things like that. No, Kempachi. No, I did not. Play Bailey or Luis Diaz in Game Week 9. I'd still play Diaz, I think. Selling Kane for Tony for the Bournemouth fixture. Fair enough. I mean, look, Kane can bite you. That's what I'm saying. I could see him getting a penalty, even like Spurs tend to get penalties against Arsenal, and, Harry Kane loves that fixture. I could see him getting at least one goal and probably a few bonus points as well, depending on the result. Anfield on European nights is different. Yeah, I think they're better in Europe rather than the Premier League. I agree. Remember the Barca vs Liverpool game 4-0? I do. I mean, look, I'm kind of a cynical when it comes to, these performances. Credit to Liverpool and what they did, but Barcelona, they completely capitulated that. They had chances they should have scored, and the defending, I mean, Jesus Christ. If I was a Barca fan, I would have cried, honestly, what I saw there. There's no way Brendan Rodgers doesn't get sacked now. Yeah, and maybe this is a good result for Leicester in the long term, but losing like that is just painful anyways. So I wouldn't want that. Even if, let's say, for example, it's good for the long term, you never want your team to lose like that. How bad is Aston Villa? I still don't like them. I know they got a clean sheet yesterday. I thought Southampton would score, but I wouldn't go for them, no. I would rather go for Pope. Not for me. Is Akanji a good FPL option? I'd love to say so, but for me, no, because there's a rotation with Diaz, Ake. You've also got a few others coming into the mix, like Stones, Laporte as well, who should be back in November, October, so not for me. Yeah, same here, Scar. I mean, the thing is, like, at the time, it was haunting. Over the years, it kind of eased the pain, but, losing a World Cup like that, Argentina being the better team in the final, they should have won it, but it is what it is. If you don't take your chances, you don't win the game. It's as simple as that. But decent chance this year. Hopefully Argentina can do it, but going to be difficult. I think the World Cup is very open. Unlike the Premier League, which we all know who's going to win, the World Cup is interesting from that perspective, you could say. Yes, Ralph, and also he was very close to scoring. Very, very close. We're talking about millimeters here. Yeah, that's true. Either way, I wouldn't go for him on the wild card. I would rather go for Andres Pereira. Stones to be the best nailed? No, not for me. What I like about Stones is that he can play as a right back, and he can also play as a centre back. But for me, no, I don't think he's that nailed. 49 points, Bo, Martinelli, Gabriel left. That's pretty decent, mate. That's pretty decent. I think that looks pretty good. Like the video, guys. Thank you, PI. I appreciate it. Thoughts on Dyer? Yes, he scored today, but how many goals he's going to score? The only Spurs defender I really like is Perisic, and that's it, really. So it's a no from me. But he has been really good this season, to be fair, and he's nailed on. That's what I like about Dyer, to be fair. He's really nailed on. He plays pretty much every single game. That's the big plus about him, and he's cheaper than the likes of Perisic. What are your thoughts on Richarlison? No-go in terms of FPL, especially now with Son scoring a hat-trick. Richarlison is kind of an impact player. So yeah, honestly, with Richarlison, I wouldn't consider him an FPL. He's done well so far, but no. Son or Sterling? Sterling has the better fixtures. If you look long-term, Spurs is really mixed. So we'll take a look now again. So if you look at the next 6, Spurs are mid-table. They face Arsenal and Brighton next, which, to be fair, Brighton I think is a bit easier now. But obviously I could be wrong. Yeah, and then they face Man United in a few game weeks' time. Newcastle isn't that easy. Obviously, Bournemouth and Everton look good. But yeah, Chelsea, I know they're actually even low in the fixture ticker. But if you want someone up until Game Week 17, which is pretty much what you want because we're looking at the wild card, Chelsea are even better than Spurs. And they've got some really good fixtures in there. So, look, I prefer Son in general. But based on what we've seen so far this season, Sterling has been a bit more consistent. Son has got all his returns pretty much in one game. But obviously, Son on form is a better player than Sterling, of course. And Spurs are a better team than Chelsea. Best option to replace Perisic, around a similar price. I mean, Reece James is an obvious one. Trippier, Cancelo, etc. Ruben Diaz could be really nice as well. If not, you can downgrade. You can go to a West Ham defender like Soufal or Fofana. Maybe. Yeah, Rodgers sacked. I mean, it's just a matter of time. He has to be sacked, he has to be. By the way, if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. We're very close to 15,000 subscribers as well, by the way. So let's keep on pushing. And I appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel and all the new patrons and channel members. Like I said, we've got like 40 new members this week only. So thank you very much to everyone who's done so. And all the OG members as well. You're always appreciated. And check the links in the description below to join the FPL League, the Discord server, and many, many more things, such as my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. But let's go back to my wildcard draft. And remember, there's going to be a best wildcard team video within the next day or so, where I'm going to talk about all of this in more detail. And it's going to be a different team, actually. So it looks like Rodgers is sacked. Is it worth going Martinelli to Zaha and Perisic to someone else on the 5 million? Yes, I would rather have Zaha over Martinelli for sure. Better fixtures, Zaha's a better goal scorer, and he's on penalties. It's a definite go. 5 million? Under 5 million, you're probably looking at Anderson, Gay. I'd probably prefer Anderson, and you're also looking at Fofana, Soufal. So there's a few options for you. 51 with Jesus Martinelli. Yep, like I said, Pollard, that looks really good. Going to keep Bowen till Game Week 10 for Zaha. I think that's the right call. Zaha's the better option long term. Haaland is going to wrap up the Golden Boot by December at this rate. Exactly. Yeah. The big problem, though, is staying fit. If he gets an injury, then Kane has a good chance, but otherwise, no. You think Soufal will bring good attacking threat? Not great, but I think he has decent attacking threat. The thing is, I think actually whoever plays on the left, whether it's Creswell or more likely Emerson as the left wing back, I think they will be a bit more offensive and being those positions you really want them to be in. But Soufal, I think, has decent attacking threat. Just be realistic. He's 4.4 million.